My name is Jess Flowers. I'm the blogger behind the Wild Vegan Flower, and today I want to share with you one of my favorite focaccia bread recipes. It makes it in the air fryer. Air fryer focaccia. Now, I made 2 different loaves with it the other day because I was a ditz and I totally forgot to add my herbs to one of them, and I don't know, I like herbs. I want the herbs in there. We're still going to use the other focaccia bread probably for some stuffing, yeah. Anyways, I invented this recipe a couple of summers ago when it was really hot in my house. I didn't have air conditioning. I still don't have air conditioning, let's be real. But anyways, I didn't have air conditioning and I was really craving some good bread, and it was getting really expensive going to the farmer's market and buying it every week. So I experimented with it. I've tweaked this recipe a bunch and I got it to work beautifully in the air fryer. Look at how thick and fluffy it still is. It's still nice and soft. Oh, yeah, it turned out pretty awesome. And I've made this recipe between multiple air fryers, so it'll work with yours. However, depending on the model of your air fryer and the air fryer basket, you might need to tweak this recipe just ever so slightly. However, it's worth it. It's so good. I like using this recipe during the holidays in addition to in the summer, just because often my oven's already full. I'm using it for other stuff, so that way I can still have fresh bread ready to go on as a side. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Let's dive in and make it. I have the full recipe in my blog down in the description, otherwise follow along to see how it's done. We're going to start by adding 2 teaspoons of sugar along with 1.5 teaspoons of dry active yeast in a very large bowl. From here we want to add 1 cup of warm water that is about 100 degrees Fahrenheit. You do want to take the temperature of the water because you want to make sure that it is not too hot and killing the yeast, or that it's not too cold and it won't activate the yeast at all. This will take about 10 minutes for the yeast to get all foamy and activated like this. Now you want to add 4 tablespoons of olive oil, 2 cups of your flour, and half a cup of vital wheat gluten. I add vital wheat gluten to my focaccia because it increases the protein content of the loaf, and it helps the dough be able to hold the air bubbles when it rises. This creates a more airy, fluffy, and thicker focaccia. For flavor, I like to add herbs like thyme, oregano, rosemary, along with sea salt. I like to mix up which herbs that I'm going to be using depending on what I have on hand. Since I'm all out of thyme and rosemary, I'm going to be sticking with a ton of oregano for this loaf. From here, you want to mix everything up. Since you're going to be hand kneading the dough, go ahead and mix it up with your fingers. Wash your hands first, of course. I do not recommend using a standing mixer for this dough because it is very easy to over knead the dough. I have done that, and you don't need to do that. It made the dough very, very dense. It just didn't work. Anyways, hand knead it, and you're going to be hand kneading it for about 10 minutes. As you can see, it is very sticky, and if it is too sticky, you can add about a tablespoon of flour to your hands to try to prevent a little bit of that, but really don't add too much more flour. It will get less sticky as you knead the dough. Keep kneading it until it is really nice and smooth and elastic. Once the dough is nice and smooth, you want to leave it in the bowl and then use either a wet, clean towel or a wax cloth over the top so that way it's covered. You can get creative if you can just put a cutting board over the bowl. The cloth that I'm using is super stained, but I swear it's clean. I'm just an eco-friendly nerd, and I believe in using what I have. And I also don't have a ton of money, so I just don't want to be going out and buy new cloths at the moment. I don't recommend using plastic wrap just because it is absolutely horrible for our environment. All plastic breaks down into microplastics that pollute our water and air, and it is not only an environmental issue, but it's a public health issue. Microplastics are getting into our food and water, and cancer rates are going up. It's really not good. So anyways, please refrain from using plastic wrap. Now you want to make sure that your dough is covered for about 45 minutes so that way it has time to raise in a nice and warm place. About 45 minutes, it should have doubled in size. If you're in a cooler room, it may take up to an hour. However, if you're making it or your bread in the summer, it might only take like 35-40 minutes. So just keep an eye on it. Now that it is fully rised, you want to cover it with olive oil, and then you kind of want to like dimple in the olive oil into the doughs like this. And you want to flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. And then from here, you want to gently place the dough in your air fryer basket, and you can refluff the dimples to really improve that texture. You want to bake it at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 minutes, and then you want to check on it to make sure that it is browned enough. If you have a really tiny air fryer basket, it may take longer to cook, and if it's super pale when you open it, give it another minute or two. From here, you want to remove the bread and you want to flip it over. Some of the dough may have seeped through the grates of the air fryer basket, and you just want to very gently push the dough out through the holes to remove it from the basket. Now, this didn't happen with my other air fryer baskets. I have a new air fryer now, but it definitely happened with this one. And it's not a big deal. You're going to be serving it pretty side up, so no one will know. And then from here, you want to bake it for another 15 minutes until it is nice and crispy like this. Now, thank you so much for checking this out. Be sure to like and subscribe this video, and to follow along, be sure to check me out on Instagram. Thanks, guys.